Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. So within today's video, I do want to speak about Laporta assessing many things regarding the Super League, Lionel Messi, and the comments that has been going on against FC Barcelona. We're also going to be talking about the finances of this club, what he thinks about Ansu Fati, because he did, again, address so many things within this press conference, and we just have to discuss it, and we're going to break it all down within today's video. So if you guys are new here, welcome to the channel. I'm happy that you guys are here. We do talk about everything regarding FC Barcelona, and in some things, and in some cases, football in general. So if you do want to support this YouTube channel, you can so by just liking this video and also subscribe to the channel so you can know exactly when I do upload. I usually upload daily because there is things going on in the Barcelona world like every day. So this is going to be a very interesting one, and I first want to go straight into the Super League because it does say here, according to many sources, that the European Super League is back. Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus understood to have contacted more than 50 clubs in the hope of creating a new tournament. There are plans underway to launch a 60 to 80 team tournament that would replace the Champions League. Even Laporta during that press conference had said this: the Super League process is underway. It is a more attractive competition for everybody. So they even came out with like a list of what exactly this Super League is going to be like. It's basically the 10 commandments in their eyes, like what they promised to do. This was created by Barcelona, Juventus, and Real Madrid, and I'm going to be explaining some bullet points regarding these 10 commandments, like this list, so you guys won't get too confused on what Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Juventus do want to do in the Super League. So point number one, they call this the broad-based and meritocratic competitions. And not to make this too boring, but this is basically Barcelona, Real Madrid, and Juventus saying that the Super League 2.0 would be a competition with no permanent members and based on sporting performance, meaning that this is going to be a multi-divisional competition that is going to be having a total of 60 to 80 teams. So very similar to what UEFA does right now. They have the Champions League, that is a division tournament. They have the Europa League, another separate division tournament, and then they also do have the UEFA Conference League, another separate division tournament. The owners of the Super League want to do the exact same thing with a total of 60 to 80 clubs. And of course, they did say that there is going to be no permanent members at all, meaning that teams like Real Madrid, Barcelona, and Juventus could get kicked out from their own Super League, which is crazy to even think about. Going on to point number two, which is called the domestic tournaments, the foundation of football. This is basically explaining that Barcelona, Juventus, and Real Madrid do want to work with the domestic leagues. They're not looking to replace the domestic league. So they're basically saying that, okay, this Super League that we're creating is not going to replace La Liga. It's not going to be replacing the Premier League or the Bundesliga or the French League. What it is going to be replacing is the Champions League and nothing more. But we want to work with the domestic leagues. Moving on towards point number three, and they call this one improve competitiveness with stable and sustainable resources. So the owners of the Super League recognize one thing: if they want to improve the competitiveness within a specific tournament, which is again why they're creating the Super League, they need to have better teams in that tournament. And the only way you could have better teams in that tournament is by having those clubs receive better resources. And one of the ways they could receive better resources is by having more stability and predictability every season, so they can know exactly what to pay for and also meet the expectations and the wages for their players, and basically invest more into their clubs so their clubs can be even stronger. And so when you have, like, let's say for example, AC Milan, Inter Milan, Manchester United, Barcelona, Real Madrid, Atletico Madrid, Arsenal, Tottenham, Bayern Munich, Dortmund, all of these teams receiving way more money than ever before, the teams are going to be getting better. And when those teams get better, more fans are going to want to watch those teams. And then they're going to be saying, wow, we're going to be having Manchester United versus Bayern Munich this weekend. And then next weekend, we're going to be having Barcelona versus Manchester United, or Bayern Munich versus Real Madrid, or Inter Milan versus Barcelona. Look at all of these great teams playing day in, day out, and then every weekend. We don't have to wait every 3 months for these teams to play against each other. This is great. And then in the end, more eyes are going to be coming into football in general, and they're going to want to talk about it. And that is how football becomes a much more global sport. And because football becomes a much more global sport, thanks to the Super League, many of the businesses are going to be saying, we need to pay way more money to these clubs so we can sponsor our products or services in front of all of these eyes. You see how like everything does just works together. Another thing that Barcelona, Real Madrid, and all of these other teams could do is say, hey, let's build a subscription. So let's say, for example, we pay $5 to $6 a month to see these teams, these great teams, play in, day out. Now they have like a whole other separate stream of income coming in every month, which goes towards what we did say, more stability, more predictability on knowing just how much revenue they could get every season. Going on to point number four, and they call this one, player health must be at the center of the game. So this is very clear to understand. They do not want to create the Super League to have these players play every 2 or 3 days. That's the reason why they want to eliminate the Champions League, is because they're saying, let's eliminate the Champions League games, let's work with the domestic games, and in that that way they don't have to play every 2 or 3 days, because if you add the UEFA games, the Super League games, and also their domestic games, it's going to be just too much. And so that is why the Super League is saying we want to prioritize the health of these players. And this does correlate towards what point number 2 was saying, which is to work with the domestic leagues. Going on to point number 5, and this is called club run competitions with transparent, well-enforced financial sustainability rules. So this is basically a rule that they want to place within the Super League that is basically saying, okay, you can only spend a fixed percentage of their annual football related revenue on player salaries or net transfers or whatever you do want to invest in, whether it's a brand new stadium, new jerseys, whatever it may be. It does have to come through football revenue and nothing more. So like a rich owner that can pump in around 500 million euros into this club, they cannot do that. They can't say, okay, I'm going to be owning this club now, which is, let's say for example, PSG, a new owner comes in, they're like, okay, I want to invest 300 million euros into this club. Let's do this. The Super League is not going to allow that. They're going to be saying you cannot bring an outside source of income and inject it into your own club. You have to make that money within football and then reinvest that back into your club. Moving on towards point number 6, and they call this one the world's best football competition. And again, this one is very clear. They just want to make this competition the best competition in the world, better than the Premier League, better than the Champions League, better than La Liga. They want to have everybody in the world to look at this Super League and say, wow, this is bigger than the Super Bowl. This is bigger than baseball, basketball, or any other sport. Point number 7 is called improved fan experience. So they're basically saying that they want these clubs in the Super League to reinvest their money into like infrastructure, build better stadiums. So when these fans from around the world visit these clubs, whether it's Inter Milan, Barcelona, Bayern Munich, Real Madrid, Juventus, etc., these fans do come in and they have a great experience. Moving on to point number 8, which is called develop and finance women's football. So they do want to add more emphasis on women's football. They're saying, okay, look, whatever income we do gain once we do start this Super League, let's invest a good amount into women's football, like when it comes to the first team football and also in grassroots football. Moving on towards point number 9, and this one's called a significant increase in solidarity. And this one is very correlated to point number 8. This is also explaining that the Super League would like to have their clubs to reinvest their funds back into grassroots football. So these youth players, the under 18, under 17, under 16, under 12, under 13, under 11, they can all have better equipment, better resources to become the best players possible. It has also been said that there should be independent authorities within the Super League that would help ensure that all the money is spent transparently. And then the last key point, which is point number 10, and it says that Barcelona and all of these other clubs should have respect for the European Union law and values. And that's basically it. That is the Super League. That is what they do want to create. These are going to be the 10 rules that they are going to be standing by. So let me know in the comment sections down below, what do you think about this whole thing? Do you think that the Super League is going in the right direction? Now let's move on towards Joan Laporta, talking about Barcelona's current economic situation. And this is what he said: I want to talk about the economic situation. I mean, we saved the club, we took decisions to reduce debt, and now we are all under control. The financial situation is improving every day. We are in the process of achieving a record number of sponsorship contracts in the history of the club, as well as achieving records in stadium attendance, shirt sales, museum visits, and we are number 1 on social media, which is great to hear that Barcelona are attracting more viewership, bringing in more people in stadium attendance. Again, it's a great thing to hear, because we have to remember where Barcelona was about 2 years ago. There was barely any people coming. Like, I remember there was like an average of 55 to 65,000 people going into the Camp Nou, when this stadium can carry about 98,000. So we're like, where the heck are all of these other fans? Do they even want to see Barcelona like they used to? But thanks to Xavi Hernandez, thanks to his great football, it's attracting more and more people. And in that way, we're also able to bring in much more income. And then he continues to say this: we have signed players for 215 million euros, and we have sold a total of 141 million euros worth of players. We built a competitive team for 74 million euros. We have reduced the wage bill by around 100 million euros so far. In the summer, we have calculated that we will reduce another 70 million euros. So at this point, Joan Laporta is just flexing like how great Barcelona has been doing. Like it is true, like the fact that we have reinforced our squad with only a total of, for only the amount of 74 million euros, that is very impressive. Mateo Alemán also wanted to add right after, and he said this: from this summer, we no longer have the contracts of Griezmann and Piqué, so that means we will have 90 million less. 2-0. Joan Laporta continues to back what Mateo Alemán did say, and this is what he said, and I quote: this summer, we won't have to sell great players to register new ones, which is basically like a way of saying we don't have to sell Frankie de Jong or Ansu Fati or Ferran Torres in order for us to bring in brand new players or register new players. So economically, Barcelona is in a very okay state. late. It does seem like Barcelona is not doing so well, but we have to remember it is because of Javier Tebas. He is basically the president of La Liga. He is the one restricting Barcelona on what they should be doing during the transfer window, and he's also adding all of these salary caps, which is why outside of Barcelona, all of these fans, the people who are not really so aware of what's going on in La Liga, they're saying Barcelona's broke, they cannot afford any players, when Barcelona can. It's just that, you know, Javier Tebas does have different plans, and in a way it just feels like he wants to put Barcelona down. Joan Laporta also backed Ansu Fati, and this is what he said: "We're currently not thinking of selling Ansu Fati, but I cannot predict the future. Our hopes are high for Fati. He has interested clubs, we know from his agent, and it is clear that he wants to succeed here." So we know that Jorge Mendes has brought in some proposals to Joan Laporta and Mateo Lemán. He was basically saying, hey, look, these are the clubs that are interested. I do not have offers yet. Maybe they could bring offers in the summer, but just to let you know, Manchester United and Arsenal and these other clubs want to have this player. And then Joan Laporta was hitting back at Javier Tebas, and this is what he said: "In other countries, fair play is more flexible. We're trying to convince La Liga to relax the rules. We managed to register a player, but La Liga changed the rule for us to not undergo this operation. It's a constant tug of war." He's basically referring to the renewal and the registration of Gavi, because at one point about a week ago, Barcelona were trying to register Gavi, but then Javier Tebas is like, I'm going to be changing the rules, I'm going to be fixing these numbers here, doing this, doing that, and whatever Javier Tebas did, it did not allow Barcelona to register some of their players. So again, like I've said before, it just feels like Javier Tebas is going against Barcelona. He just doesn't want to see this Barcelona team succeed at all. Joan Laporta also explained the situation regarding Messi and his brother, and this is what he said: "Lionel Messi is part of this club's heritage. He belongs to PSG. Out of respect, I will not speak. His brother has apologized, and that's it. The words of Messi's brother have no impact on the club's relationship with Lionel Messi." So if you guys were wondering whether those comments coming from the brother really mattered in the end, it didn't. Like, whatever that brother did say is so irrelevant to what Barcelona and Messi have together. So it's all great news. Everything is going well with Barcelona financially. We'll see what happens to Barcelona in the summer, and I do expect to see an answer by the end of the 2023-2024 season regarding the Super League and whether this is going to be moving forward officially, and let's hope that it does. So that will be wrapping up today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one.